This talk is about my life as a ceramicist, because it was and continues to be a life filled with magic and surprises. Surprises of the creative kind. But let's start at the beginning with a reading from an old English text I found in a library in Istanbul. In the beginning God created the earth and he looked upon it in all its loneliness. And God said, "Let us make living creatures out of clay, so the clay can see what we have done." And God created every living creature that now moveth, and one was man. Only clay as man could speak. God leaned close as clay as man sat up, looked around and spoke. "What is the purpose of all this?" clay as man asked politely. "Everything must have a purpose," God said. "Certainly," man said. "Then I'll leave you to think of one for all this," God said, and went away. In order to deal with and fill the great emptiness which resulted, the baker bakes, the teacher teaches, and the priest preaches, etc. I chose to make ceramics. And now, standing closer to the end than to the beginning of my life as a ceramicist, allow me to tell you a little of the journey of how I got from where I started to here this afternoon. I started my working career from what most would call a disadvantage, a severe lack of funds, no money. However, in my case, this turned out to be a blessing, plus a defining feature of all of my work. Thanks to the nature of art, there are no set rules. I found that the limitations set in place by circumstance, plus making do what I had, and the skills drawn from very old and basic practices across a number of cultures, together with an approach of discovery and persistence, all unfolded into my particular ceramic expression. Unable to afford a top-of-the-range kiln, in fact any kiln, I began my ceramic firing explorations with an aid of a simple hole in the ground, an earth kiln. And instead of glazing for surface effect, I work with fire and smoke on a burnished surface. With that, I began to explore the source of ceramic making, going back to the very beginnings, a time when things were simple, two hands forming clay plus a wood fire. After many years, I'm still working in that mode, because I have now arrived at the understanding that the magic of the artist's work does not lie in the expense of the tools, but in the knowledge of the hands which to me have always a connection to the heart. And that in the main, it is the limitations of the materials that create the art. Simple earth kilns do not necessarily mean less sophisticated work, as my efforts over many years show. It does mean, however, a little less control over the outcome. And in that aspect of the work lies the gift. Most of the gift of this type of work is provided by the element of chance. Some of the beautiful visual effects are the direct result of being able to let go and to trust the process that is inspired by an earth kiln and a smoky fire. Each time you use a tool, you place something between you and the material. With this, I'm not saying don't use tools. I'm saying the simpler and more basic the tools, the more the artist needs to give of him or herself. There are no mechanical shortcuts. Most importantly is to be closely in touch with all the hands-on aspects of the process. A part of the process quite easily forgotten with the more sophisticated tools of today. I'm continuously searching for and being creative with the possibility within this simple way of working. As a result of this, I have become interested in discovering the poetic aspects which are revealed by it. Allow me now to take you on a short journey along the ceramic path, with every bowl a step along the way. A journey which started with the discovery of clay at art school, but which may well have been preceded by my earlier engagement with sand in a sand pit, which my father, observant of my creative energy, had built for me in the backyard of our home in Holland. but who knows how all that really works. I do know that I'm here now, enjoying an ongoing and happy, interesting, intriguing, rewarding relationship with this basic material, clay, earth. This material, which through some sort of alchemical process can be transformed into the most exquisite manifestations, from a formless lump of clay into any form, rough, refined, or elegant. There are as many expressions of this material as there are people engaged in it, practicing the art, the craft, all engaged in this wonderful dance of earth, water, fire, spirit, heart and hands. This would have to be magic, and it is. After my first engagement with and introduction to this material at art school, the need to travel became very strong. The need to see what other cultures did and had done with this versatile, pliable stuff. For 8 marvelous years, I wandered and wandered around the world, observing what foreign artisans were creating with clay. From the very basic concrete reality of the Indian food bowl to the imaginary and fantastical dreams of Gaudi's architectural creations in Spain, with millions expressions in between. In each culture I visited, stayed and worked, something was added to my ever-growing store of artistic and ceramic information, all the while enriching my skills, enriching my spirit. Some of the transformations. In South America I discovered the beauty of unglazed ceramic ware, and as a consequence, and feeling liberated, got rid of glaze in my own work. In Greece I learned how to do it without high-firing kilns, while still having a worthwhile ceramic experience. In Turkey I learned how to economically fire with wood, of which there was very little. The Pueblo Indians of New Mexico taught me the art of burnishing and firing with cow dung. While in Scandinavia, I learned about the beauty of the economy of design, the appreciation of a simple form, and on, until after 8 years of travel and work, I returned home, fully filled. In order to make some sense of the incredible store of information I had gathered, I retreated into the Australian desert to see if there, in solitude, I would be able to wait with patience for all these experiences to settle down and to see what would come up. During this period of desert contemplation, I remembered some gardening advice I had received. To start a garden, plant one herb close to your back door and tend it. Simple and wonderful advice. In the quietness of this desert environment, I also remembered a meeting with an ancient Pueblo Indian who told me, while pointing at the first moon, a silver bowl elegantly floating on the horizon in a darkening blue sky. We call this to the receiver. Inadvertently, he had pointed a direction for me, the path of the bowl. I started by following the advice of planting that single herb in my studio by way of creating simple burnished black-fired bowl. And just like my gardening, it has extended. I made many more bowls and was off into a most magical journey. During the quiet revolutions of my pottery wheel, I remembered how, when I returned from my overseas journeys, I flew from Melbourne to Adelaide, just a few days after the Ash Wednesday bushfires, which had devastated thousands of square miles of the landscape. I remember recalling how I had seen the most incredible landscapes all over the world, yet needed to arrive at home to see the absolute most stunning of all landscape in my own backyard. The graphic expressions of a landscape burnt and smoked. These images and experiences have motivated the landscape expressions of my bowls for many years. And in a way they still do. The bowl expressing the earth, the burnt landscape its decoration, the bowl as a concrete poem. This gave the expression to the following saying, "Whatever you need is always close at hand." And now a new question has arrived. This resulted in a return to the very first expression of my craft, that of the making of a simple black bowl, still a challenge. A return to a time when my hands caught moments of still life, moments of silence, moments of meditation, moments of movement, moments of desire, moments of stillness, and moments of the divine. And all these special moments caught in a simple bowl, a bowl both empty and full. If you are a maker, listen to your hands. I feel that I, at the end of a seemingly circular journey, have now arrived where I started, with at the start of this journey not knowing anything, and at the end of the journey knowing only that which is expressed in a simple bowl. At times I feel a bit like a tree, which finds itself all of a sudden, and to its own surprise, with blossoms and fruit. And the continuation of that journey now becoming one of producing more fruits and consequently seeds. The seeds for more work, the seeds of meditation, the seeds of continuation. It's that simple, it's that complex. The new work then, which I took out of the kiln over the last 3 to 4 years, provides the viewer with an ongoing consideration of the bowl as a meditative object, a bowl to lead the mind both inwards and outwards. This work may be best appreciated in stillness, something our society addicted to noise and speed does not do too well. Contemplation in a way of looking and considering, which is not a quality that has come with industrialization. Each bowl is a step in a circular dance of life. Where is this journey leading? Where is it taking me? I have no answers, nor does it matter. It is the richness of this journey itself which to me is the point. The way of enriching, learning, teaching, and in general sharing throughout this life. Practicing the joy of the dance of life, the only dance there really is. I would like to invite you to dance with me for a while, hoping you enjoy the ceramic steps which have created it, hoping you're able to view these steps with enjoyment and leave a little refreshed, a little motivated, a little enriched, and a little inspired. Thank you for your attention.